we're talking football here on IGL Weekly, brought to you exclusively by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Give them a call at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. We're tomorrow's broadcasters today alongside Eric Hauser and Darren Winberg. I'm Sean Brown. Gentlemen, light schedule in Week 8 of the IGL as the playoffs are right around the corner.
Yeah, three games on the schedule this week.
3 games, some rematches, some good action.
Yeah.
All right. So coming up on the show, we hand out some trophies with our regular season awards. That should be fun to do.
Yes, excited.
Coming up a little bit later. Possible playoff previews. We'll take a look at the teams that should qualify for the second season of the IGL and who's the favorite to win it all. We'll discuss that. But we begin with week number 8 on the IGL schedule as we head to the Wells Fargo Center, guys.
Yeah, it was a good week. Only 3 games, like we said, so we're used to covering a little more. But we're getting ready for a little playoff push too. Yeah,
and we start with a rematch from earlier in the season on the schedule. It's the Conshohocken Steelers and the Philly Hornets. This game was a little bit of a lopsided affair, Eric.
Yeah, it was. It turned out that way.
Yeah. What did you think of the game? Obviously, we had some players. There was an issue with numbers for the Steelers in this game.
Yeah, there was. Game started off, and Breon wasn't playing, Axel wasn't playing, a couple of the offensive.
Parker.
Yep, line wasn't playing. So I was thinking maybe it's due to playoffs coming up, give them a rest. So I went and actually talked to the guys, and they said they got the Army-Navy game. So they were sitting out, resting their bodies for, the All-Star game that was coming up later that night.
Now, this is a little unusual to me. Usually players maybe sit out the All-Star game to play for their usual squads. In this case, sitting out for their squad to play in the All-Star game, Eric.
Yeah, apparently this game meant a lot to the players, and a lot of the Steelers happened to be in the game. And, Breon, their quarterback, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yes, he
wasn't suiting up. Axel's one of the best running backs. He wasn't there. They were missing a lot of their big players.
And hard to win against a team the caliber of the Hornets without that firepower.
Oh, yeah, and Hornets brought it. You could see in the beginning of the game, warming up, they wanted this game.
Yeah, they certainly did. And speaking of the Hornets, they're making that push to get into the playoffs. And they made some roster additions, Eric.
They did, yeah. They brought in quarterback. We talk about Muhammad Abdullah, and he's had a good season this year. They brought in their quarterback from last year, their undefeated quarterback last season, Steve Panichuk, who was playing for the IFL.
Number 8?
Number 8.
Who's number 8?
Yeah, it was Steve Panichuk. And it's, he was playing for the IFL, the Wyoming team for them, so he was playing pro. And his season's over with them, so he came back. And, he wants to help his Hornets repeat this year.
Do you think that might pay dividends for the Hornets?
Oh, it'll definitely pay dividends. So you have that experience. Whereas, you got some new guys coming in. Last year, they've done the whole thing, so they're coming back for another one.
All right, now there was a game to talk about. Check out this long pass to number 4, Ing. It was bobbled for an interception and returned by number 12, Rashid Hayes. That would lead to a Steelers score.
Yeah, it was. It would have been a 47-yard touchdown to Ing from Abdullah. And what happened was Abdullah underthrew him a little bit. And he had too much time to wait for the ball. And I talked to Ing about this a little bit. He had a lot of time, and he got distracted by waiting for the ball, and he just couldn't get his grips on it.
I think Brandon would probably tell you should have caught that one, though.
Yeah, he should have.
He was a good 5 yards in front of it, and if it's in play.
He definitely should have, and he's a better receiver.
Absolutely. Next play from GOAT to hero. Brandon Ing returns the kick to the Steelers 4. This was a key play that led to a Philly touchdown.
Yeah, right off the return, get the momentum back and take it away, basically.
I know that it was in his mind. He wanted to make something happen. He was mad at himself about that other play.
Yeah, he made up for it. Final score, Hornets get revenge and beat their rivals, the Steelers, 28-12.
Yeah, it's, like I said, the Steelers actually beat them a few weeks ago. So this was a rematch. And unfortunately, the Steelers were missing a lot of players. So we would like to see them both at full strength, and maybe we'll see them in the playoffs.
Yeah. And a W is a W. You got to take it every way you can get it,
No question. All right, the next game on the docket at the Wells Fargo Center, the Lions and the Buccaneers.
Yes.
All right, now, no Manny Cabasa for the Camden Lions in this one. Why is that?
At least not to start the game. Robert Darby actually started as quarterback.
Number 18.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but he wasn't doing as well. They were getting a lot of pressure on him, the Bucs, and he was under some heat. He wasn't effective. And, eventually Kabasa, I think 2 possessions later, came in the game and they started to get a flow again.
All right, so Darby did get the start behind center. Big game for number 22, Eric Brickus. 2 rushing scores as the Bucks turned to the rushing attack in this one, Eric.
Yeah, he had a good game. He had a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, they weren't having any attack on the offense. They weren't able to throw the ball, so they decided to run it, and their offensive line was taking care of it, creating big holes for Brickus.
It was effective.
Oh, but they can throw the ball. They play on both sides of the ball. And then let's check out this pass. It's a 9-yard strike from quarterback Dom Hobdy to number 20, Blaine Hyde.
Yeah, Hyde's been playing well all year. He's a running back, but he's got great hands, so he's a good receiver.
All right, so the lone bright spot for the Lions would be number 7, Joshua Boyd. He had a big game on defense, E-House.
Yeah, he did. He had a lot of touches. He had early in the game, he had a pitch run for a touchdown, and he also caught a nice touchdown pass later on in the game.
He had a couple batted balls down. Anytime the quarterback would throw to him, he'd knock the ball down every time.
Yeah, Boyd's been a nice piece for that team.
All right, so the Lions were really shorthanded in this one, and they fall to the Bucks 28-12. What does this do for the Bucks' playoff chances?
Oh, it increases it real well. They get a win. Like you said, a win's a win, but builds momentum going into the second season.
Exactly.
I've been saying all year I think they're a better team than their record indicates, so hopefully this gives them the push they need to possibly get into the playoffs.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we're going to move on. The Bulldogs, can they go to 8-0? They have a big game against the Eagles.
Yes, they looked a little shaky at the beginning, which we're used to this season. But, they ended up getting things together.
Well, we'll see if they can go 8-0. Good start on the first possession. Quarterback Mike Merritt going deep to wide receiver DeJon Thomas. How many times have we seen these guys hook up this season?
I want to say 2-3 times a game. It's always the first play. It's like goes deep, runs a corner out, wide open.
If you ask the other teams, they'll say too many.
Now, DeJon Thomas, who's having a terrific season, he's now a 2-way player playing on defense. He had 2 interceptions in this game, including 1 for a return for a touchdown. What a talented individual. Now he's playing Ironman football. Why is that, Darren?
Well, they were shorthanded, Coach was telling me, but also Jimmy the Show got injured. So they need to put him on corner and just kind of, see how he did. And he did phenomenal. Did a great job yesterday.
What a great athlete.
Oh, yeah.
All right, no number 12 at quarterback for the Eagles. Where was Randall in this game?
Yeah, no Randall this week. I'm not sure. He had something to do with that fight the week before against, I think it was the Steelers. And I don't know what happened to him. But, Aaron Jackson was in there today for him, who's a receiver, and he is quick on his feet.
Filled in admirably for him.
Yes, he did. All right, let's take a look at this crazy play here. We see a flag come in, flags flying everywhere. Everyone slows, basically stops. What was going on here? Is this a prime example of why you don't ever want to give up on a play, guys?
Well, what happened was Slocum actually jumped off sides.
Okay.
And he saw the flag as well as the other Bulldogs, and for whatever reason, he just stopped. And he looked like he was going to run again, and then he just stopped and kind of gave up on the play. They had a free play there, so you got to keep going, and it ended up hurting them.
Yeah, actually everyone stopped except the quarterback. Jackson had the presence of mind to see his wide receiver wide open and threw a touchdown.
Yeah, 30 yards.
Now, the Eagles scored all of their 18 points in the first half, shut out by the Dogs in the second half. The Dogs' D continues to be stingy.
Oh, yeah. Great. Stepping up. Even shorthanded, stepping up. It's great. Great to see.
Slocum was in the backfield the whole game.
All season.
He almost got his paws on Jackson, but Jackson was so quick. He got away every time. But the player that he couldn't elude was Allen Jones. 3 sacks, 2 batted balls at the line.
Yeah, great game.
All right, so the Bulldogs roll 40-18, and they go to 8-0 on this season. They will likely play their next game July 6th in the semifinal round of the playoffs, guys.
Yeah, who's it going to be?
All right, now the one thing we mentioned about the Dogs, victorious again, but they're not so special teams. Did it improve a little bit in week number 8?
Oh, it improved a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. The first kickoff that they had, the Eagles brought it down to their 12-yard line. So it's like, oh, here we go again. It's special teams again. But it looked like they buckled down the rest of the game.
They coached. He called a timeout early on. You're like, what is he calling timeout? And you could just He's a fiery guy, but he lit a fire on them, and you know what? They stopped him. I don't think they got past the 20-yard line at all the rest of the game. Yeah. So good job.
All right. Them going.
All right, so listen, we have to take a break, but when we return, it's an IGL playoff look ahead.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs?
But it's playoff season, and that's next.
So you've been thinking about changing careers. Well, now is the perfect time to check out Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Discover the exciting world of audio and video production. They have a campus right here in Cherry Hill.
Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or visit gocsb.com.
And welcome back to IGL Weekly, brought to you by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Considering a career in radio or TV, all the information's online at gocsb.com. We welcome you guys back in. Still to come on the show, our award ceremony, but first, we talk about playoff football.
Yeah, it's looking forward to it. You know, we want to see who's going to contend with these Bulldogs, and if somebody can ruffle their feathers a little bit here.
Yeah, I got a few options. I think someone will be able to.
Yeah, I think there's possibilities.
So we've got two divisions. We've got the Gladiators and the Champions division. Some teams we haven't seen in a few weeks. Yep. But certainly the Bulldogs, we agree, they're the cream of the crop, undefeated. But some good challenges for them right now. The ASI Panthers are going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if they can get some of those players back that they lost that left the team temporarily.
Yeah, they great coach team, a lot of talented players. Yeah. A couple players, left the team for a couple weeks to go pro. Foxworth and Osborne, a couple to the top of my head, and I think they might get them back for the playoffs, and that's going to be a big factor.
Now, the Dogs will likely get a bye in the first round. They'll probably next play July 6th. So let's look at some potential previews right now. Who are some of the other teams that you guys see as being formidable opponents? Certainly the Steelers and the Hornets in the Champions division are going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. Two teams that met in the championship game last year.
Yeah, I see the Steelers being right there with the Bulldogs. They haven't played this year.
Why haven't they played yet? I'll ask that question again.
You know, I don't know, and we haven't got a good answer yet, so I don't want to say.
They're saving it for the playoffs.
They are. They're saving for the playoffs. It's one of those playoff previews that.
That's a good time to save it for.
It is. So, but I see them. Breon, if you look at position for position, the skill positions, they actually match up really well. So Axel for their running back, Breon for Mike, the wide receivers. I think that's going to be a great game.
So who would you say is the team that matches up the best, that has a shot to knock off the Dogs, if indeed they can be beat in the playoffs?
I think it would have been ASI, except Brownlee's out. Now, their quarterback did step up, so I'm going to give the nod to the Steelers.
But remember,
with all due respect to them.
Remember, the Bulldogs lost their starting quarterback in Bartuk, and Merritt has come in and saved the day, and they've stayed undefeated. So,
but he's also had 7 weeks to prepare, whereas the backups only had, 2 weeks now? 3 weeks?
All right, so you say it's not ASI, so who's the team that can really challenge them? Steelers? What do you think, Eric?
I think, you can't sleep on ASI. I think they have a lot of talent. We don't know about the quarterback situation. Maybe he's going to find a little flow there. But I'm not going to look past these Hornets. I think that they're doing something interesting here. Steve Panisuk, their quarterback from last year, if he can get timing down and chemistry with this team again, with Abdullah as a dual threat,
Abdullah looked good at they put him at running back yesterday. Yeah. He looked really good.
And they have a lot of talent on this team, and they won it last year.
Well, we've seen Abdullah. He can run with the football as well. He's one of those players that can play a lot of different positions.
Yeah.
So now they bring in a quarterback that led them to a championship last year. They seem to not be getting healthy, but making the right additions at the right time.
Yeah, I think so, and I think they're going to be, they could be a scary team.
And he's more of a pocket passer, where Abdullah's kind of like a hybrid kind of guy. He can play anywhere.
Yeah, it's a dual threat.
Yeah.
Now, do we agree that the Dogs, the Panthers, the Steelers, and the Hornets are the 4 top teams in the league right now?
Agree. Yeah.
Would you say the championship would go to one of those 4?
Yeah.
I would think so.
If it doesn't, it's going to be
I would be shocked.
Mind-boggling.
I would be shocked.
Now, how many teams qualified? Do we know that for the playoffs yet? Is it 4 teams? Is it 6 teams?
I've heard 6, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
All right, so let's talk about some of these bubble teams right now. Who are some of the bubble teams in the league? The teams like the Buccaneers, I think, would be considered a bubble team.
The Lions.
The Lions. Do they have any chance to get in? Depends on how many teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, it depends on how many teams. But I love the Lions. I've been an advocate of them ever since Week 5 when they came back. The big win. So they're young. They don't have a lot of, their offensive line is young. But
yeah, the Lions, I've seen them stay in a lot of football games, but they haven't won a lot of the close football games. I don't even know who the quarterback is right now, Eric.
Yeah, it's I'm assuming still Kabasa. I don't know what happened early in that game. But, they're in every game, like you said. But
and they have Casper and Lane. They do have some offensive playmakers.
They do. They're just undersized, and I don't think that they have the experience yet. And I think the Bucs are the team that, if it was between them, I think the Bucs.
Undersized, but is their heart and their courage enough to pull them through?
I think it is. Well, it has been. It's keeping them in the games. And consistent play by Kabasa. He has one game where he'll throw 5 touchdowns. The next, he can't get in. So I think consistency is the biggest thing with the Lions.
So we're really looking at the top 4 teams, and for you, the dream matchup would be the Dogs and the Steelers.
Yeah, that would definitely be my dream matchup.
You want to see the Dogs and the Hornets.
You know what? I want to see the Dogs and any of those other teams.
How about
because
you? What do you want to
I think
see?
they all can do something.
Well, I certainly think the Dogs, the one thing, you're the Bulldogs, you're 8-0 right now, but that 8-0 means nothing right now because now it's the start of a new season.
Everyone's even.
That's exactly right. So what they did for them, themselves in the regular season isn't going to matter come playoff time. So they have to do it all over again. Yes, they did qualify for the first round bye. That's a good thing. But we're going to have to play their best football in the playoffs now. And I think Coach Turk put it best. They've got to be more consistent and play 4 quarters if they want to take home the hardware.
And remember, the Hornets and the Steelers, they've been through this last year.
Oh, yeah,
they've gone through the playoffs. So it might be a whole different monster. So we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah, certainly so. Now, other teams at the bottom, obviously, the Eagles and the Falcons, they're not going to be in the playoffs this year. What are they trying to build upon for perhaps next season?
Well, the Falcons especially, they had a lot of trouble just getting used to the arena game. And I think that, they'll spend an off season and they can correct some of those things.
Did they find a quarterback in Pollard that may be their future?
Possibly, but I don't know. I mean, they might be looking. They're probably still looking. So.
I think they're still looking. They got some good pieces that are in place, but once you get your quarterback in
Could
place.
Julio Perez be the guy next year if they give him a little bit more protection?
Possibly. I mean, that was the main issue. He was running for his life all season, so it's hard to blame him.
All right, so we know who the 4 teams are. Going to put you on the spot here, Darren. Who's going to win it all?
The Bulldogs. I don't see any way they don't win it all. They're 8-0. They, other than ASI, which played a great game, that's been their only close game. They're winning it all.
Eric, do the Dogs take home the title, or does somebody shock them and knock them off?
I think the Dogs will take it, even though they do look sloppy early in games, and I do like the fact that ASI pushed them to the limit that one game, and they were able to come back from that. I think they're a strong team.
They're beatable. We've seen that. They can be beaten. But I will say this. The reason why I'm going with the Bulldogs is because they have the best team overall on both sides of the ball. They've got a good offense. They've got a great defense. And I think because of that, they are the best team overall. Now, like I said, they can be beaten, but I don't think they will because I think they're the deepest team in the IGL.
I agree with everything you said. They're both sides of the ball. Yeah, and they do need to work on their special teams, like we say every week. But offense and defensive-wise, they are the best team.
What else do they need to work on? Anything else that they need to improve other than special teams?
They play really well when they work on the big play. And I think they've developed an identity. And I wonder what their identity is, whether it's the big play or the defense. And I think that's their biggest thing. They can score points and they can stop it. But when they're up a lot, what do? Do you just run the ball or what? Like, figure out your identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the thing I like, too, about what they've been doing is they've been basically protecting their quarterback, and they've been playing a lot of Wildcat, and I think that's really smart because I think Coach knows that Michael Merritt is the key to this team. If they're going to win, they got to keep him healthy.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I like how Eric Childs is actually coming in once in a while to do that Wildcat. It saves Merritt a little bit because you need Merritt. They need Merritt to win everything.
Those hits either.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Well, we want to remind you that we are your official program for all things IGL playoffs. We will keep you posted on all the happenings in the upcoming weeks right here on IGL Weekly. Got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we hand out some awards, that and much more as IGL Weekly continues right after this.
So you've been thinking about changing careers. Well, now is the perfect time to check out Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Discover the exciting world of audio and video production. They have a campus right here in Cherry Hill.
Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or visit gocsb.com.
And welcome back to IGL Weekly. If you want to check out more interviews with the players and video content, we remind you to check out the IGL Weekly YouTube page at youtube.com/IGL Weekly. Definitely something to check out for our viewers out there. Final segment of the show right now. You guys ready to have some fun?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do this.
All right, it's time for our first ever award ceremony. We gave some mid-season awards back earlier in the season, but this is our first end of the season award ceremony, and I thought it would be good to start with Coach of the Year in the IGL. A couple good coaches out there, a lot of good coaches in the IGL. Darren, why don't we start with you? Who is the Coach of the Year?
Well, Coach of the Year comes between two guys, Coach Bill Mattis for ASI Panthers and Coach Turkel for the Bulldogs. And honestly, it came down to Turk beat the Panthers, so I'm giving a nod to Coach Turk.
Eric.
I'm going to have to agree. Coach Turkel, I mean, he's got an undefeated team. He first time in the league this year, first year.
Yep.
And, I give him and his squad a lot of credit, him and his staff.
Listen, it's going to be a clean sweep, and I'm going to tell you why. The Bulldogs are 8-0. It's as simple as that. Coach Turkel is one of the best motivators I've ever seen. He really keeps his team motivated and focused, and it's a sweep. Yeah. I'm going to go Coach Turkel as well. All right, we're going to move on to Quarterback of the Year. My selection is going to be Michael Merritt, the starting quarterback of the New Jersey Bulldogs, and here is why. 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a completion percentage of 75.6%. He has been unbelievable, and even more so why. The reason why is because Jeremy Bartuk, he went out with a season-ending injury. How many backup quarterbacks can come in and save the season, lead their team undefeated and into the playoffs? Pretty impressive job by Michael Merritt.
He's meant a lot to that team.
Well, I'm going to go with Breon Shelton of the Steelers.
Good choice.
He's a great choice for me. Not only is he a stand-up guy, but he's also a great quarterback. Great pocket passer, leads that team, and I think he's going to lead them against the
whoever they play in the playoffs.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
But I think I'm going with Chris Brownlee. Had a great season this year for the ASI Panthers. Yeah, looked really good. Unfortunately, he was hurt last game. But I think he played really well, and I like his style.
And I like his style, too. And a big loss for the ASI Panthers. Yeah. They're hoping that they're able to overcome that in the playoffs. Running back of the year, Eric Hauser. Who do you got? Another good ASI running back.
Yeah, Eric Foxworth is my guy.
Number 30.
Yeah, I mean, Axel's really good, and Burrows is really good. High's good, but I really like Foxworth. Great season, great athlete. And you could see that because he got pulled up to the pros for a couple games this year, so he was recognized that way.
Who do you have, Darren?
I'm going with Axel of the Steelers again. Guy from New York, he came in midway through the season, and he has shined.
Yes. All right, I'm going to go with Steve Burrows of the Philly Hornets, and here's the reason why. We were calling his number wrong all season long. We were calling him Frazier, number 9. But the real reason, Stephen Burrows is a featured back for the Hornets and a great back at that, and he is my top running back. Wide receiver of the year, I'll kick this one off. There are a lot of great choices you could select from. I'm going to go with DeJon Thomas. He seems to catch a touchdown pass in just about every game, Darren.
Yeah, he catches a touchdown every game, does something on offense every game, whether it's a block, which we don't talk about a lot, but he's a great blocker for wide receivers. So.
He's a beast. Eric, is it a clean sweep?
Is that who you're taking?
Yeah, DeJon Thomas.
Oh, man, both you guys took my guy. I'm taking DeJon. I mean, he's a great athlete, great wide receiver. I mean, you can make arguments for even his teammates, a couple of his teammates, Molitaris, Jimmy the Show Alston, but also McBride out there, and Jackson of the Chiefs, and Casper. There's a bunch of them.
All right, we'll move on. How about the defensive standout star of the season on defense? Darren, what do you think?
T.O. and not Terrell Owens, Terrence Osborne for the ASI Panthers. He, like you mentioned, he got called up, but he has made so many plays to help ASI, which I think is built primarily on defense, and he's the stalwart of that defense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marquise Slocum, big Marquise Slocum. He's just been in beast mode all season. He's got a big motor. Yep. He gets through the line, and he puts pressure on the quarterback every game. I think they see him in their nightmares.
Now, good selection. I'm with you, Eric. I'm also going to go with Big Marquise Slocum, primarily because if I didn't pick him, I'd be afraid to see him next time.
Right. You might have
Marquise,
something
I
to
love
say.
you, man. Don't hit me.
He's been in the back. His office is in the opposing team's backfield all season long. He has been a force. A lot of interior pressure for him on the D-line. Good selection.
You know, someone else I just thought of, too, Brandon Lee for the Hornets.
Yeah.
We called his number.
Honorable mention.
Yeah.
All right, now there's been a lot of great plays in the IGL this season, but we're going to pick the single play of the year. What do you think, Darren?
I got Josh Boyd, interception the end of the game, catches the ball, saves the game, and they win it in overtime.
Oh, wow.
one.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric?
I'm going to take Malik Jackson, week 2 this year. What a one-handed grab at the back of the end zone. Unbelievable play.
Put the one paw up there and brought it down. I'm going to go with Terrence Osborne of the ASI Panthers. That tremendous interception he made in the middle of the season a few weeks back to preserve the victory for ASI against the Steelers. That was the prettiest interception you can see.
That was awesome. It was.
All right, and now it's time for the big one. The MVP, most valuable player of the IGL, is who, Darren Winberg?
Number 0, Dijon Thomas for the New Jersey Bulldogs. I think he's probably the heart and soul of the team and has led them to an 8-0 victory.
You make an outstanding case. Eric?
I'm going to go Bulldogs again, but I'm going to say Big Marquise Slocum. I think he anchored that defense all year. He was in the backfield all year. I would be shocked if he's not moved up to the next level for next season.
Yeah, you make a good point there. I'm going to go with quarterback QB MJM Mike Merritt for the aforementioned reasons. 12 touchdowns, and no other player in the IGL has meant as much to his team as Michael Merritt's meant to the New Jersey Bulldogs. All right, there you have it. It's time for our game balls. Thank you very much, Greg Harkins. My game ball goes to the Dijon Thomas, your MVP. 3 touchdowns in week number 8, 2 on defense, and he doesn't even always play defense. Dijon gets my game ball. Eric Hauser.
My game ball in week 8 is Allen Jones. 3 sacks for the Bulldogs and 2 batted balls at the line. Great game, big fella.
Mine is Eric Brickus. Led the team to a 28-12 victory over the Bucs. Great game. There you are, sir.
All right, there you have it, our game balls. And I want to thank our producer, Rick Kersey, and our director, Greg Harkins, for an outstanding job they do behind the scenes. They're not always seen, but they do a great job with this program. All right, it's time to stick a fork in us because we are done. Yes. We are out of time, but don't forget, the playoffs are right around the corner. We'll cover it for you right here on the Connecticut School of Broadcasting presents IGL Weekly. For Eric Hauser and Darren Winberg, I'm Sean Brown. As we leave you today, we invite you to take a look at the top plays of the week. So long, everybody.